I did. I did. Well, so did you.
Yeah, I did. I couldn't make it out that day.
So we weren't able to attend California Extreme and see the reveal of this, but we watched it on Twitter, and I could feel the love. Like there was a lot of positive vibes coming out about this game over the airwaves. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but like it was, people were posting videos and photos and
we
thoughts
saw
and
it
feelings.
on the show floor. We saw people come by with their phones. They're like trying to narrate the videos. They're trying to do all that stuff. So that was kind of exciting to see.
So I am a video game fan. I grew up going to the local arcade, but I'm not quite on the level that you guys are. I was blown away at the reception that this got. I was really.
This is not a small room.
Wow.
Just to set the stage, I mean, this is a massive event. There's hundreds of games there. There's 100 pinball games there. There's like more video games there than you see anywhere else in the world, and yet this got a wealth of attention.
I think it helped too that the night before when we dropped it off, we turned it on and put a tarp over it, so you could see the lights flashing through the tarp, and people were like, "What is that?"
So it was like that early in the show?
Before anybody even got in, and just as people were coming in, it was like that.
Yeah.
And then, so tell me about it. Like, what kind of reactions were people giving you in person?
It was nuts. The amount of people, we had like, what, 4 or 5 people deep sometimes?
There was always a crowd.
What do you mean?
It was always full, sometimes with the crowd.
You mean like
around it.
spectators?
We had a few, like, there's the one kid who was there for like hours. Like he just kept coming back. And he was really into it.
Well, how old was the kid?
Oh, he's probably
he was
like 13 or something.
Something like that. He was the kid who was telling me how to play, right? That was awesome, walking up to the machine and watching, because he had been playing for so long. I'd walk up next to him, I'd join in, and as I'm playing, he's giving me all these pointers. Like, if you do this, this is awesome.
Were they good pointers?
They were great pointers. It was like, honestly, I think I tweeted it out, but it was like a highlight of my career, because like here
That's
I am
awesome.
watching a kid get so into a game that I worked on, and then kind of relay that joy to me and try to teach me about
no
it.
idea.
No idea
that you worked on it, made it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
From beginning to end, I think it was a success. Like even moving the cabinet ended up being surprisingly easy, even though we made it so that the top could come off and the bottom disassembles. We just moved it all in one piece.
That lightweight MDF, man.
Mike got a van and literally just like, boom, and I think the guys running the show were really impressed because we pulled up and they're like looking at it like, oh boy.
Yeah, like, what are we gonna do with this?
They're like, oh, this is really like, and it went right in. It's great.
I gotta say the people at the show were amazing, because they helped us get it in and out. They helped us set up where it was like the best location in the show that we could have possibly hoped for, because they gave us a lot of room around.
They had
a
lot of faith. They kind of took a chance on us. I mean, I
absolutely
know
did.
you have a reputation and all, but honestly, like they didn't know what we had. They'd
Not at
never
all.
seen it.
And so they completely, they expected it to be good, and it turned out great.
That's awesome. And you guys had some actual Atari employees come by?
We did. It was actually, I think it was the second night. Owen Rubin and a lot of the old crew from the old Atari arcade division came by, and they discovered the game on their own and just started playing. And I was sitting there like, is that Owen Rubin? And everybody's like, yeah, that's those guys. And they stayed on the game for most of the night. And they were, when new players would come in, they would tell the players how to play as well, and get them, like, teach them the strategies of the angles and all stuff. And so I finally started up a good conversation with Owen, and he was great. He was giving me all these pointers. I'm like, is this what it was like when you would put a new arcade game out and test in the field? And he's like, not at all, because we weren't allowed to go and look. He's like, we would sneak in sometimes and watch, but they didn't want us to taint the field test.
Interesting.
And so like they didn't even have that pleasure. So it was like, oh, so we're doing something a bit different.
Wow.
Yeah. We should talk about, hiccups we ran into. Also, so there's overall, I think it was pretty good, but there's a few hiccups, and then also what revisions we'd like to make.
Absolutely.
What hiccups?
Where do we start?
Really?
I mean, even with you before the show, right? Like there was a lot of stuff we had to do.
Yeah, we should talk about your undocumented time leading up.
Well, yeah, when we last wrapped, we had the LEDs hooked up, but they weren't interacting with the game. And so I spent a couple days here after we wrapped working largely with Kevin, trying to get the LEDs connected, and that turned out to be a bit of a challenge. But we came up with a system. Initially, we just had all these events firing. Like the computer would tell the LEDs, somebody got hit, somebody joined the game, somebody's paddle moved, and it would just be at random times.
Yeah, exactly.
But then we started sending this packet, like every frame.
Full state.
That has every state. And so it's this
which is still tiny.
Consistent number of bytes and consistent, frame rate. So we got things running perfectly smooth.
That worked really great.
And then I spent 6 hours tracking down a bug with
an out of bounds bug.
So were these bugs like on the program? It was like literally like a weird comma somewhere. Like
I wish it was that stupid. No, it was. There was one line of code. I didn't null terminate a string. And that's something that programmers gotta do.
Yeah.
So I found out the hard way.
I gotta say,
terminate that
it's
string.
pretty amazing that like this follows the tried and true tradition of arcade and video game development, where we're up to the very last minute making revisions to the game, trying to get to work perfectly. And it was just like the day before we took it to the show that everything finally came together. There was things with like control, with speed, and all this other stuff we had to do in there, music and everything. All kinds of problems.
It's nice to have a deadline though.
It was great.
It just so happened that we were able to meet this one.
Yeah, that's always great.
So we got it all set up. Everything's going great. We ran into a little heat issue later in the day on Saturday because the event runs from like 11 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah, so it was going for a long time, and I came walking back. I saw no one was playing because that was a kind of a shock because we usually have a huge crowd around it. And I saw the screen with the like kind of like no input screen up. I'm like, oh no. So I thought we had killed it somehow.
Yeah.
Opened it up, and all I had to do was turn it back on, and it overheated.
The computer.
So the computer overheated. A little mini computer that we have in there overheated.
Because I installed one exhaust fan on the top for the TV, and then we put 2 in the base because we really we weren't sure like how much it would. So I got a message from Mike because he was down at the show the whole time. He's like, it's overheating. So I literally took fans out of my computer.
And where'd you put them?
We just since I put vents all around.
Yeah.
And initially I put the vents in just for aesthetics, but they actually were obviously
So you added more exhaust?
So I just put 2 more fans on 2 of the vents, and it
did the trick because it had probably failed 3 times at this point.
Right.
And so I was worried it was going to get worse. And so once you put the fans in, it went.
Yep. So that was.
It just needed a little bit, just a little bit of cooling.
It was just getting to that one point.
I wonder because the classic games they don't have cases for the boards; they're just open, and I'm sure cooling is a factor there.
Yeah, and they have that big open space. We had this kind of nestled in with all the other electronics too.
Yeah.
So there's just a little bit of rethinking we have to do.
But the 2 extra fans seemed to solve the problem, so we didn't have any problems with that. We did run into some glitching.
Yeah. With the paddles.
Yeah.
We noticed that some people were getting really frustrated because they would move the paddle back and forth in the game, but it would just start shaking a lot.
Yeah.
And
like an old Atari
Like
paddle.
an old Atari paddle. And the old Atari paddles, you would sit there and crank it back and forth really fast.
Clean
and
it up,
get a little bit and clean it up, and it would start working. I was shocked to see a little girl, no more than probably 7 or 8 years old, when her paddle was messing up, she did this trick, just like the old Atari games. And then her paddle was fine. I'm like, how did she know to do that? And so we kept giving that advice to people until, of course, Sean came in and cleaned them up.
So Sunday morning, we took all the panels off and did a little electronics cleaner in there.
Where did you clean?
I literally just sprayed it in any open hole I could find on the pot.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's...
That helped for the rest of the show.
That helped, and then so we probably want to look at upgrading the pots to like a more like arcade level.
We got these based on the length of the stick,
right?
They were the cheapest ones available. So hopefully we can find a nicer one.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's out there.
As far as like things that the feedback we got back at the show, it was overwhelmingly positive, but there were a few things. There were some people who were really photosensitive, so the LEDs were really bothering them.
It's a bright game.
Yeah, especially when the room was like darker and that like kind of situation.
I don't want to give anybody a seizure, but man, the photos look good.
Yeah, they look so good,
dude.
Well,
it looks like sci-fi movie set kind of quality photos.
And it looked like with that lighting, there was an effect I'd never seen before, which was the button lit the acrylic.
It really did.
It looked amazing.
Yeah.
So every player was a different color.
Yep.
And when you glowed, like when you held it down, it made your whole panel a little bit.
It looked really good.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I think the simple solution for that is that maybe in a track mode it's full brightness, but then when you actually start playing, we dim it down a little bit.
You could even add a knob for LED brightness.
Yeah, I think the other thing is right now we have a spacer that's on top of the fingers here. I think we should just put an actual clear thing because there's already junk and
falling in.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
someone who was leaning over drooled. And it went all like dark all over here. Like,
there's
that's not
DNA
good.
on this cabinet? No. Totally good.
The cup holders got used though. I was like,
hey, nice.
That's an easy fix. But
these are quite genius. Like there were a number of people that now have offered to they want one.
They do.
And I think like a number of them are from barcades.
They are.
And this is perfect for that.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only upgrade I think we do if we were to take this to more of a real product is I think we would put glass across the top so it can be used as a table as well.
Yeah.
That would probably solve all their problems. That was the biggest request from people who were looking to actually buy one at the show, which was they were so disappointed. We're like, it's just a one-off, and they're just like, please make one.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we would like in the arcade setting, because it's much darker, we decided we want some down lighting down below.
Yeah.
So like just because the base just kind of disappeared because it was so
That's a
dark.
good
So I
idea.
think some cool down lighting that go down the sides.
Well, what changes would you want to make after having been at the show besides upgrading the controls? Anything to the gameplay
Yeah,
itself?
so the game, it was funny. We were getting a lot of false reads on the game. People were coming by giving me suggestions about the game. They would say stuff like, if you hold the ball too long, make it kind of like Warlords, where the wall gets eaten away. And I'm like, it does that. And, so we actually had a lot of stuff in there. But one thing I did notice is people were having a hard time tracking the balls. They were too small. So I already started to implement a way to increase the ball size so you can track it. It doesn't necessarily change the collision that much or anything like that, but it does affect that. I think each game session still goes too long, because with 6 players, it just goes on for a while.
Right.
Especially in like 1-1-1-1 win.
Right.
You can
Exactly.
get long.
Especially because after the first win, which is pretty quick, the end could be next.
Yeah.
But it never is.
It never is.
Yeah.
And so we want to try to increase the game time, or decrease the game time, and try to make it like ramp up faster. But I didn't want to try to do that on the show floor and break everything. So I was so tempted to have my laptop there. I'm like, I could just fix all this stuff right now. No, just let this be this thing. So those were kind of the big ones.
Got it. One last week, I want to make this buzz. We got to take care of that. And I think that's just a matter of plugging in a little filter.
Yep.
So I'll send you one of those. And I also have nonstop. This is like the 5th revision of the X input adapters. This one should be a little smoother, and you can now. These things are a little more spaced apart.
Well, this is great because this was critical. Your different revisions of this were critical during the software development.
Yep.
But you can use this just for your own kind of paddle input and joystick.
That was your
input.
idea. Like you were able to prototype using 2600 paddles.
Yeah. It was
And then
great.
we just made these controls look like that.
I like the Atari logo on the back there. It's pretty good.
Well, I guess we owe a debt of gratitude to Zach for helping out with the cabinet design. I don't know how we would have done this without CNC, honestly. I mean, us with a couple of saws? I don't think so.
No, and he gave us some excellent, design advice, and like the whole modular system and the breakdowns kind of came from his idea of the hub.
Yeah.
He was a lifesaver because
Totally.
Also, I have to give some thanks to. We didn't talk about him, but my friend Eric Schimmelfenning, who is he works for SketchUp, and he was initially the guy that I talked to about CNC because he's done a ton of CNC work. He's done some cabinets before, and we were just emailing back and forth a lot. And I thank you, Eric, so much. He has a great YouTube channel you can check out. But some great ideas came from him as well, as far as materials and
good.
putting things together.
Awesome. And of course, thanks to everybody who played it, right?
Oh, it was
I
great.
wish I could have been there with you.
Yeah, me
The
too.
kids, watching kids come up and play it and have a great time, that was the most rewarding. I think out of this whole process, it was the most rewarding part of it.
California Extreme tweeted, Starlords is the must-play game of the show. Now, I know they don't have game of show. Like, there's no award. Because I looked for it when I came in today. It's not here. But they did say that. So I know that it got some love, and I'm really glad that you got that feedback from people.
And, a lot of thanks to those guys who ran the show, TJ and Ken and all those guys who came to help us out and put us in this great spot and also get the word out about the game. Once the game was announced and we had it public, they kept announcing where it was, they kept pushing people to it and kept telling people to come over and check it out.
Yeah, so now this lives here, right? What's the future of Starlords?
I think we do some modifications. I think we're going to try to play around with the software a little bit. We got to get back to the the huge amount of email we got from the show.
Yeah.
We have a lot of interest in the game, people who want to find out how they can build one or buy one and that sort of thing. So we got to sort all that out too. But I want to try to figure out what other kind of games we can do with this form factor, which I think would be really fun. We've talked about different ideas, stuff like that, but there's something just kind of incredible about having the simplicity of a paddle that goes back and forth on a button.
Yeah.
What kind of games can we build?
What can you do with that?
I would love to open that up to more people and see what kind of creative things come out of that.
And it's trivial to add another button if you want.
Absolutely. Well, we got room right here.
It was because it was in there.
Totally.
And you've got a lot of support on these. So it's
Exactly.
like we can actually expand this. We could even do coin drop, for instance. So if people actually want to
That's
take
what these
one
are
and put it
for.
in the real world.
Yeah.
We have it right on there. That's right. That's
Ready
right
to go.
there. So we can actually do that. And, I'd love to see where that design.
Me too, man. Me too.
Awesome.
All right.
Let's
nice
do
work.
this.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Nice work, Kevin.
Amazing stuff.
Sean, I couldn't imagine this project going any better.
What a ride.
It was amazing. I feel like we did it. I feel like we're Jedis who have made our own lightsaber now. I always wanted to make an arcade game. I always did. And now we've done it.
I'm so glad we were able to make it happen. From being kind of nervous at the beginning and working on all the things. And
Just the beginning?
I'm just amazed that everything came together like it did. This is a good example of a project where everybody was on the same page with it and really excited about it. And and it was infectious, and we really bounced off of each other well. And I would love to do something with this group of people again.
There's nothing better than a good team. It's a good feeling, and this was the best team. This was probably the most fun that I've had on this series. I'm not even going to say probably. This was the best time I've had on Bits to Atoms. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to Other Ocean, in addition, of course, to Zach, for helping us through this journey and making this game a reality. Other Ocean was the developer to work with. I mean, they are the classic game aficionados in the industry to begin with, but to make a classic game with them was just a pure joy.
And we would really like to thank the Tested Premium members for making this possible. The last 2 years of Bits to Atoms has been a lot of fun. I never imagined working on this kind of stuff, and it's been also due to a lot of encouragement from that crowd. So thank you for supporting us.
We hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go dedicate the rest of my life to making arcade games.